Hello everybody, and welcome back to my sunroom here on this beautiful day in East Tennessee in May. And I wanted to show you that my Dendrobium that I nicknamed Wilson, he is a no ID, but I nicknamed him Wilson. He is blooming, and this light that's coming through the windows right now captures the color of this orchid just so beautifully. I can hardly speak when I look at this one. The color is so intense. So I'm going to do another fertilizing video today. I got so many questions from you all on my last one, and I just thought I'm going to give you some more specifics about what I'm doing this spring with my fertilizing. First, several of you asked me, how long are you soaking your orchids in the fertilizer water? Because remember, I showed you my little basin that I give them kind of a bath in and I water them in. I soak them for about 45 minutes to an hour this time of year. If it's really rainy outside, I don't need to do it quite that long. I might pull it back to maybe 30 to 40 minutes, but this month we've not had all that much rain. We've had a lot of sun. And I've noticed that when the warmer weather starts setting in, if I soak them a little bit longer, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour, they just don't get dehydrated. They look beautiful. As you know, I soak my orchids that are growing in bark, not the ones that are growing in moss. I will show you in a video that I'm going to place in the description box below how I very carefully water my orchids that are growing in moss. You don't want to soak orchids that are growing in moss because you'll make the moss just soppy. Moss is like a sponge and you don't want it to stay wet for very long. But with my bark orchids, I let them soak for 45 minutes to an hour, and it's just working very, very well. The next really good question was, okay, if you're soaking all of your orchids that are in bark for an hour, how long does it take for you to water them in a day? I don't water all of my orchids in one day. I'll tell you a little secret. I have found that I have to do something with my orchids every single day. I have to water at least one. I have to check in with them very, very often. They're just part of me being happy. So what I do is I have 8 very large Phalaenopsis orchids that are growing in bark, and so I water half of them one day, I water half of them the next day. And that way it's not overbearing, it doesn't take too much of my time. I do it in the morning, so what I do is I just set my kitchen timer or my alarm on my phone, and I set it for sometimes 50 minutes. It just depends on how hot the weather has been outside. This week I soak them for an hour, and I just set my alarm or set my timer, and each one gets an hour, and I don't forget about them. That's the other good thing about setting a timer. I don't know why I didn't do that a long time ago. I guess you just learn as you gain experience, but that's how I do that. The next commonly asked question that I get is, do I use Epsom salts? Why or why not? I don't use Epsom salts anymore. I use CalMag. I use the CalMag with the Jacks A and B, and I have had wonderful results. And here is my best friend along with my Jacks fertilizers. This is CalMag, and it has calcium, magnesium, and iron. What I do is I place this in the water. I use about 15 drops per gallon of reverse osmosis water, and this binds with the water first. That's an important thing to keep in mind. You don't want to use this after you've put your Jacks fertilizers in your water. This goes first. And since this is such a good magnesium source, I don't need to use Epsom salts for more magnesium on top of what I'm already using. Another commonly asked question is, do you use CalMag every single time? Yes, I do. I use it every single time that I water it. Even when I'm just flushing the pots with clear water, I use the CalMag along with that. 50 parts per billion. That's, with the type of pipette that I use, that's about 15 drops, but it's 50 parts per million. And I said that to lead up to what my new recipe for spring is. I have been slowly increasing the amounts since winter. Actually, ever since the end of March, I've been increasing the amounts just a little bit. I don't have a recipe card. I'm just going to put it down in the description box so that you all can jot that down. But what I'm doing with 1 gallon of warm reverse osmosis water is I put the CalMag in first, 15 drops or about 50 parts per million. Okay, and then I add my seaweed extract, the Growmore Seaweed Extract. I put about 15 to 20 drops of that in. That doesn't increase your parts per million very much. It might, I don't know, that might add about 5 parts per million, very nominal amount. And then I add 120 parts per million of the Jack's 1500. That's the calcium nitrate. Then after that is dissolved, that takes about, I give it about 5 minutes to just sit there after I've added the Jack's 1500. And then about 5 minutes later, I add 80 parts per million of the Jack's 51226. Now, if you're wondering what all these products look like, I'm going to refer you back to the video that I did back in January, and you can see all those products up close. So right now, I am fertilizing at about 250 parts per million. They are growing very well. Many of them are starting to grow new leaves. I have spikes growing on more of them now. My Phal Legato, she is elongating her spikes and she has more buds, like 8 more of them. My goodness. So obviously this fertilizer is doing amazing things with my orchids. I am very, very happy to report. And so many of you love my Phal Legato. She is absolutely stunning. It's very hard for me to talk when I look at this orchid as well. I've had her in my collection for 12 years, and every single time she blooms, I'm just so happy. So I'm thrilled to share these gorgeous blooms with you all. I think that that's going to end this video. If you all have more questions on fertilizing, how I fertilize, why I'm fertilizing the way that I am, I'm kind of an intuitive type of a fertilizer, meaning that I look at what's going on with the orchid before I do anything with it. When I see lots of growth, I know that that growth needs more fertilizer. I don't know if I'm going to increase the amount of the Jack's A and B this summer. I really don't think that there's any need to. I believe that the soaking for that hour really helps for it to, I believe that the fertilizer is absorbed better into the roots, which just totally makes sense. So I hope that helps you all. Oh, and someone asked me, how often am I fertilizing my dendrobiums this time of the year? That's a good question. I fertilize them twice in a week, and then I flush them with clear water, because last year, oh goodness, I had a lot of salt buildup in my pots because, as you know, when you have dendrobiums, they require a lot of fertilizer for those canes to grow so long. Some of the canes on my dendrobiums are about 4 feet long, so that takes a lot of fertilizer. So for those of you who grow dendrobiums, there's my tip for the day on that. And before I end the video, I would love to say the blessing over all of you. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you His favor and give you His peace. You all make it a great day, and we'll talk to you all next time.